Hello everybody, this is DH Thorne. I have a little bit of a cold, so if I seem a little tired or a little groggy, that would be why. But I wanted to do a video today for you guys because I don't get many chances to shoot videos right now. It's my busy season at my day job. I work at a tree and shrub nursery, so that means I work outside, and hence the cold. So I've been out in the rain and so on. Today's video I wanted to make on the subject of preparing yourself and your ritual environment. And this is a little bit instructional. It's a little bit deeper into the conceptual reasons why certain groups do what they do, certainly why I do what I do. And the first thing I want to say is that, a lot of people have kind of a fearful mentality of what they need to do to be prepared to work magic. Some people really desire their ritual space to be like a surgical center where there's no outside energies, there's no outside distractions, it's pristine, and there's nothing wrong with that. And other people are more, we'll say, shamanistic. They do a lot of ritual work out in nature, or they consider their home more of a natural environment, whatever the ritual area is, and they allow that area to soak up the energies of magic and spell work and spirit calling, and to just try to regulate that and to work with that. And I'm of two or three minds on the subject. For one thing, if you are in an area that you are unfamiliar with, maybe a new home, or maybe you've gone out somewhere into the wilderness for the first time, you've never been to this location and you want to do magic there, or maybe it's like a cemetery, something like that. So if it's a new home or an area in the woods or the wilderness that you've never been before, it's probably a good idea to try to prepare the area energetically for your magic. There's a whole bunch of different ways you can do this. You can, of course, smudge with sage and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of the easy way, but I don't think it's necessarily the best, especially if you don't know how to charge it with energy. Another alternative would, of course, be to use different stones and place them around your ritual space for a while and visualize the energy, the negative energies being transmuted into neutral or positive energies, depending upon what you're going for. So you might want to take several chunks of obsidian, something, let's see, I got one here, obsidian or onyx, things like that can work with the energies of a room or with an area, and can absorb and transmute the energies into something neutral or positive. And they don't have to be big, beautiful stones. They can be small little pebbles. And that can certainly, if you leave them there for a while, that can help do that. Or you can go through and do it ritualistically. This can be done with incenses. This can be done with stones. This can be done all these different ways. And one of the methods that I include in my book is something I call aligning and clearing, or align and clear. This is essentially my version. It's not even a version. It's my idea of a lesser banishing ritual. Now, you could, of course, use that if you're comfortable with it. But what do these rituals generally do? Well, the first thing they do is they set up a kind of perimeter in your working space that is your domain. This is where your intention, your ideas, your subconscious mind rules, and essentially you become the god form of this location. That's what the lesser banishing ritual is really all about. You invoke the angels, which serve the Most High, and then you become the Most High by separating a portion of reality for yourself, and you become God in that area. In my worldview, in my metaphysic, in my book, you are the divinity already. Once you come to terms with that, the rest of this becomes fairly easy. You are already the divinity, and you are now an aware divinity that is attempting to control and manipulate reality to your desires. And so what you may need to do, especially if you're not really used to that. Now, I don't generally have to do this because I'm pretty well comfortable and aware of this, and sometimes all I have to do is just center my mind and take control. But other people, you may need to do something, whether it's a lesser banishing ritual or my align and clear ritual that I have in my book, which I'll briefly talk about. You may need to do something to center and focus yourself so that you can really, 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 live that and become that and invoke the spirit of divinity, to know that you are the sorcerer for a moment. Now, sometimes also this is a good idea, like if you're a little scared, maybe you've called a spirit that you don't trust, or if something's bothering you, maybe you're in like a haunted home and you're kind of scared or something. You can also do these kinds of things to banish, energies you don't like, and this is also a beneficial thing you can do. So, keeping the theme of this, however, is preparing a ritual space. You could do these rituals and prepare the space with it, and go from there. Now, one of the things I like to do with my ritual space is every so often, usually during the start of most rituals, especially with certain spirits really like it clean. Like Azazel for me, I don't know if he does this with you, but he really likes to either be out in the wilderness, especially like in the desolate wilderness, like the desert or something, or if it must be in your home, you must purify your ritual chamber and exclude any energy that is not him. You must essentially like whitewash the whole thing. And what I'll do is I'll create a force field of energy around my ritual chamber that nothing can get in or out that is not him or something that I permit. This is mostly done with visualization in the astral realm, and you just call it into being, and you push the energy into being. You can feel the energy moving. Do it that way, and that works very well. But if you're not that advanced, or you're not working with that spirit, or you're outside or something, or do it to the best of your ability. This can be done, of course, with the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, if you're okay with that. I don't use that because I don't like working with those names and those kinds of things. They don't work for me very well. I believe, in my, like I said, my non-dualistic ideology of what I am, and so therefore I don't need to invoke, Michael and all these other angels and call myself the Most High and invoke, Yahweh or anything like that. So instead, I will visualize myself in my ritual space as glowing with light and becoming more powerful as I recite certain things or intuitively speak what's on my mind to make a declaration of my intent and my power. So if you're in a new place, let's say you're out in the woods and you've decided to use this as a ritual space, you would center yourself in this space and you would perform some sort of ritual to cleanse the area and push the energy out that you don't trust. Now, I would generally leave, if I'm in a natural environment, like say the woods, okay, it is my firm belief that the woods is, everywhere we are is filled with entities, but the woods in particular and other natural places have very strong elemental and spiritual forces. Each tree may have a spirit attached to it. Pardon me. There's a little bit of my cold kicking in. May have some kind of a spirit attached to it. And so you don't want to try to force those out. It's not going to be a good idea. Instead, what you want to do is you literally just want to visualize your energy and your intention permeating the environment in such a way that it is cooperative with the entities in the area. Now, this can be a little tricky if you're not used to this. This is why a lot of other systems that are right-hand path ask permission from the spirits in the area, and that's okay as well. You can turn your preparation from pushing your energy into things and wiping things clean to asking permission from the local spirits to protect and guide you and to observe and partake in the energy of your ritual. And this goes back to I don't know, Druidic or Wiccan or some other more naturalistic processes. And there's nothing wrong with this, even if you're on the left-hand path. I mean, you have to respect the individuality of others around you, don't you? If you want them to respect your individuality. So don't try to necessarily force yourself onto your environment, because if you do, you can have some negative repercussions. You might get resistance. The local spirits that have been there a lot longer than you might have something to say about what you're doing and might try to interfere. Now, of course, some spirits, like goetic entities, they're everywhere. You don't necessarily have to do anything. I found with goetic spirits, I don't have to prepare the area at all. I can literally just, center myself and kind of create a personal field around myself that's, just arm's length. And once I've done that, I can invoke them, I can call them, and they will appear or they will enter me, and I'm fine. I don't need to make a big elaborate ritual space out of it. But if I'm doing certain other kinds of rituals, or if I'm working with a spirit that likes a clean environment, I may need to do all this. So this is something to keep in mind. Generally speaking, however, I like this for people who are more like a neophyte, more of a beginner, someone who's not used to entering into their God form. They're not used to associating themselves with divinity. And so what I often recommend is first they assess the situation. You know, the first thing you have to do is to know what kind of situation you're in. Are you in danger? Are you in spiritual danger? You know, or is there something dangerous in the environment? You know, this isn't going to work against somebody that's trying to break in your house. But if you're having things going bump in the night and you're a little concerned, doing something to align and clear or banish is not necessarily a bad idea. But then again, you might be banishing a spirit that means you no harm, that's actually just trying to communicate with you. You know, do this long enough and ghosts don't scare you anymore. Bumps in the night don't scare you anymore. You kind of smile and go, oh, there they are. And it's fine. You don't get creeped out as often. Certain entities will still scare you, like real shadow people will still scare you. I haven't met anybody who, when they encountered a real shadow person, doesn't get the willies. They may not be scared like running away and terror scared, but they will get the willies. They'll be like, "Ooh, what was that?" You know, they'll be startled at the very least. So when we do aligning and clearing, we're clearing the space of unclean and chaotic energy. But if you're truly afraid, this can be difficult, because if you're truly afraid, if you're already scared, if you think, oh, there's a monster, a demon, an entity that I'm not familiar with, something that might pose harm to my body or my spirit, it can be really hard at first to do this, especially with the way I do it. Now, normally I invoke my own God form. I invoke myself and declare that this is my space and how dare you interrupt my energy and so on, especially if something's trying to disturb me. Or I just go, this is my space, this is my energy, please respect it. And that normally is more than enough. But if you're not comfortable with that, if you're new to this, you may need to invoke another spirit to help you. And one of the things you can do, if you have an entity that you already work with, so for example, you have a patron, and if you use my book, your patron, or at least your first spirit, is going to be Lucifer, the first one that you're going to contact. But it may be another spirit. It may be one of the Goetic spirits. It may be a Lovecraftian spirit, whatever it might be. Maybe from another culture, maybe a Chinese or Asian spirit of some sort. Whatever your patron is, whatever your go-to spirit that you believe is, you know, your best friend, basically, the one that's your guide and guardian. You can invoke them and call upon them to help protect and clear the area for you. Sometimes this is just a simple matter of calling to them and saying, would you please come and observe my rite? Would you please come and clear this area? Would you please come and fill it with your presence? And that alone, especially with these higher entities, is enough in most cases. But if you're still not comfortable, if you want to do a more ritualized format, maybe you want to do a lesser banishing ritual, but you don't want to use the names of God or the names of angels, just change it to the names of the different spirits that you work with. Instead of evoking the angels, evoke, Goetic kings. Instead of evoking Yahweh, invoke Lucifer or Satan or whatever it is, Nyarlathotep, whatever your spirit is, invoke that as the final part. And that's perfectly fine. Learn to play with these rituals. Learn to understand their symmetry and the way that they work, so that you can insert things where you want it. You have the 4 cardinal directions that's covered in the lesser banishing ritual. Well, look up the 4 cardinal Goetic spirits. You'll find that there's different groups of people will consider different demons to be part of that. You'll have a Maimon and King Paimon and so on, but some of them are interchangeable. But you can get a working list that you can feel comfortable with and use them instead of the angels. And instead of calling on Yahweh, you can call on Lucifer or Satan. So, and invoke them into yourself. So generally speaking, when you're doing this, I like to visualize my energy washing over the environment, almost like an atomic bomb, kind of. Just blasting out anything that is not aligned with my intention, and just pushing it out and getting it to the edges of the border of whatever I'm claiming as my space. If it's a ritual temple, if it's a temple or a ritual space like here or in my bedroom or somewhere where I do rituals regularly, I will literally create, a wall-to-wall force field covering the ceiling and the floor, and allow, usually I mark it with my own personal seal or the seal of the spirit that I'm inviting. So for example, if I'm inviting Azazel into my ritual chamber and I don't want anything else to enter, I will visualize a red force field all around the chamber and all 4 sides, the ceiling and the floor. I will know that it is there in the astral level. I will feel my energy filling the walls, and I'll push it out into it slowly. When I feel it's out, then I will mark each location, or just one entry point if preferable, with his sigil, and that is his gateway and his alone. and that is how he can come and go into my ritual chamber during that period. You could do this with goetic spirits if you want a more. Sometimes this is good for getting a more personal experience, like a more personal invocation, is to exclude any other energy or spirits from your ritual chamber and create a portal that only allows that spirit to come in. Although I found that most goetic entities, I feel that they do better in a more natural environment, or an environment that allows them to have more things to play with for manifestation. So being outside at night, there's a lot of animals, insects, bugs, wind, etc. that they can use. So I don't necessarily create like a bubble, and if I do, it's more of a circular sphere around myself, and I make it big enough to allow them to really enter. So that's that. Now, some people ask me, do I take special baths? Do I eat a certain way? Do I not eat? What should I do? And I often say, well, whatever makes you feel magical is what I would do. If you feel like taking a bath or a shower or a mineral bath or something like that, something to really purify yourself, if you feel that's required, by all means, go ahead and do it. I've never noticed that the spirits care. If they do, they're just ones I haven't worked with, but all the ones I've worked with are perfectly, fine with you coming. I've worked with these spirits at work covered in mud, because I've had no time to do anything else. I will invoke them at work and they will come to me, and it's not a big deal. So you don't have to get in this kind of outlandish, preparation where you have to clean yourself and do all this stuff to prepare your ritual. You can, especially with goetic spirits, you can just call to them. They're here already. They're all around you all the time. So, but in my book, I do cover a very simple, I consider it a simple ritual, but personally, I don't use it very often because it's something I used to use when I was younger. Essentially, what I do is first I center myself with breathing, and that is something I do still do. I will use yang breathing to energize myself and to build up some confidence, and then I'll balance it out. So yang breathing is a form of qigong where you're going to basically breathe in for longer than you're going to breathe out. So you're going to breathe in, say, for a count of 4. So you go up to about 80% of your lung capacity. Then you're going to hold it for 4 seconds, and then you're going to release it in 2 seconds. So it looks something like... Okay, and you do that 3 times. Do it in multiples of 3 if you need it. Usually I just do it 3 times. And I will do, I will visualize as I'm breathing in that I am breathing in the light, the energy, the darkness, whatever is empowering me. I'm breathing this in. And I will expel it, and I will push out all negativity, anything that's making me weak or fearful or anything like that. And there's different postures you can assume, and these are more just for, getting you into the right mental state to get the feeling of you're pushing and pulling and like you're pulsing with the energy of your environment to bring it in and push it out again. And also especially that last final explosion is covered very clearly. Maybe I'll put a little diagram up on the screen while I'm talking so you can kind of see some of the motions I'm talking about. But this will be in the book. This will be something that you can use if you don't have any method of your own. But you can even, I'm going to include a simple method in the book as well. There's going to be 2 versions. There's going to be the quick and dirty, which is what I use, and then there's the long form if you really want to ritualize it, to practice and get used to claiming your space. That's what that's for. So I hope this video finds you well, and I hope you guys are excited about the book coming, as excited as I am. If you want to support my work, I'm going to be putting up a Patreon very soon, probably in the next couple days to a week. I just have to decide what the tier rewards will be, if any. I don't like the idea of having tiers and not giving some kind of special reward, but at the moment, all I have to give is videos and my book coming out and things like that. So I'll have to talk to some people and see what they recommend. But if you want to support me and you can afford it, go to From the Ashes Publishing. You can ask for a consultation, which is something I often recommend. A lot of people send me questions. Well, pay for a consultation and I'll spend an hour with you on video. We'll talk about it. At least an hour. Usually I go longer than that, but it's at least an hour of consultation. That can include everything. You can ask me how I do things. You can ask me to read my book to you. I really don't care. You're paying for the time, and anything that I have that is something I can give, I will give in knowledge, 100%. If you want to know how I work with spirits, you can ask. You want to ask me what the best spirit to work with is for your situation, or to do a tarot reading on you, whatever you feel is useful to you. That would be for that. Of course, I have my rights that are on there. The Eye of the Storm has been the most popular one so far. That's for people who want me to create for them a, a personalized sigil that they can use in both meditation and ritual that will help empower them to understand and invoke their own god form, is essentially what it's for. So if you're interested in any of these rites or rituals, go to the From the Ashes publishing link that is in the description. And of course, follow me on all my various things. Facebook, I think it's Demon Sorcerer DH Thorne, and so on. There's links in the description. Anyway, thanks, guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you again soon.